Am I the a-hole for refusing a marriage contract that gives my spouse a percentage of my income? I'm not one to have an argument in a relationship and run to the internet for advice, but what just happened is too much for me to keep to myself. I'm a 30-year-old man, and I was dating a 27-year-old woman who lived in a neighboring town. We dated for 3 months, and it was going incredibly well. We spent Christmas together. We planned a trip to Canada for next month, and we had deep, agreeable conversations about our values and future plans, etc. Then we had a late-night video call on Saturday. She had a tendency to be very anxious about the future of our relationship while we were apart, but it was something we were able to work through each time, and I felt like I could live with it. This time, the conversation turned to a list of non-negotiables she had written out that were mandatory for her in a relationship. She had brought this up before, and I thought it was strange, but the list was pretty reasonable and worked for her, so I didn't worry about it. Well, she decided to add another item to the list. In the event that she got married, her husband would have to sign a legal document requiring him to give her a percentage of his income. She asked me if I would do that, and I told her I didn't think I would want to. My resistance turned into an argument that lasted several days over the phone. She sent me paragraphs explaining how her experience working as a paralegal, her upbringing in a single-income home in her home country, her status as a woman, and her trauma from her last relationship led her to the conclusion that she wanted guaranteed income from her spouse. She believed she could never trust a man to want to provide for her, and that she would never settle for anything less than a contract that legally obligated him to do so. She would not compromise on this, and it eventually came down to an ultimatum that I verbally agreed now that I would sign this contract, or she would find another man who would. Let me outline my perspective. I'm 3 months into this relationship, and my partner is demanding that I agree to a bizarre, legally binding document that would affect my finances for the rest of my life. I expressed that I was not comfortable with this, but she wouldn't let it go. So, even though our relationship had been wonderful up to that point, she broke up with me over this yesterday. She accused me of trying to manipulate her into settling for something less than what she wanted. She said I triggered memories of her last relationship, where she made excuses for a partner who didn't put in any effort and deflected her concerns when she tried to voice them. She felt that my refusal to agree to her contract was a sign that I wouldn't consistently support her needs in the future, and that I didn't care enough about her to make her feel safe. She was adamant that what she was asking was totally reasonable, and that my unwillingness to accept it was unacceptable to her. Enough to be 100% grounds to end the relationship. So, am I the a-hole for not agreeing to her contract? Not the a-hole. She needs professional help to deal with her trauma, not a legal document about money. What percentage was she asking for? She asked for 10. What is even more strange to me, though, was that my current job pays me poverty wages. I'm planning on finally getting a college degree this fall, so her plan is based on the assumption that I get into my field and someday I'm making 6 figures. It felt like this entire scenario we fought over existed only in her imagination. And what percentage is she offering to offer you future reassurance? Limau, that didn't come up, believe it or not. Not the a-hole. This is a huge red flag on her part. 3 months and she wants you to sign away future income? Just no. I think she's looking for a financial life guarantee, not a partnership. Red flags all over the place here. I'm a woman too. It's beyond a red flag. This is more like a tornado coming your way. Dude lucked out that he got here in only 3 months. Edit/mini update. She indicated that in a marriage, she wanted to work less. Right now, she works remotely doing paralegal work, but also has another in-person job that allows her to do her paralegal work during downtime. I had the impression that her career was important to her. She also doesn't want kids, or to make any compromises that would affect her career. I did try to reassure her that I would support her in every way, including financially. My view is that whatever money I make is our money. I tried everything I could to reassure her, but she wouldn't accept that. What struck me as especially strange was that when I asked what the money would be for, she said I should give it to her just because. She took it a step further and said I should be okay with not knowing what it was used for. I would have included all of this in my original post, but if I listed every wild thing that came up over the last few days, it would have gotten very long. Writing this out and reading your responses is helping me realize that I'm glad I'm no longer involved. Thank you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for dumping my ex because she hid from me that she had kids? I am a 19-year-old man. I had been dating my ex. Let's call her Samantha, also 19. She is my cousin's friend. My cousin introduced us at a party, and we clicked. Not once did she or my cousin mention that she had kids. Not at the party, not when I asked her out on a date, and not during the 2 months we were dating. If I had known at the party, I would have walked away then. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate kids. I have nieces and nephews whom I love to pieces. I know I'll have kids in the future, but right now it's a pass. How I found out she had kids was unexpected. I was meant to be working, but a guy at work asked me to swap shifts, so I ended up going to the mall. She was there with her kids. When she saw me, she looked panicked. It didn't even occur to me that they were her kids. I honestly thought she must be babysitting until her toddler cried for my ex to pick her up. It finally clicked that she was their mother. I was dumbfounded. I just walked away and ignored her texts and calls. I eventually answered and asked why she didn't tell me. She cried and said she really liked me, but she was worried that knowing would scare me away and that she would have eventually told me. She said the kids' dad had just decided to abandon them. I said I was sorry, but it wasn't going to work out. She cried some more and asked if it was because she has kids. I said yes. I wished her all the best and then blocked her on all my social media and her number. My cousin came over raging mad, cussing me out for dumping my ex just because she's a single mother, telling me what a piece of crap I am, and saying my ex is depressed. I couldn't get a single word in with all this screaming, so I shut the door in her face. When she started banging on my door, I threatened to call the police, and she finally left. She went on social media and told family members what I did, and now I have people coming at me in person and online. It's all making me second-guess myself. Am I the a-hole? You are 19. Enjoy your life. Eat, study, and play game. Not the a-hole. She lied by omission, and that is a huge red flag against her character. She admitted she lied because she thought it would scare him off. So this was premeditated. So wrong on so many levels. OP, not the a-hole. Go live your best life. Not the a-hole. Just mute social media for a while. You're still young for that kind of relationship. Study hard and work hard. Also, just mute the family members who want you to get back with your ex. She's an ex. It doesn't matter. Sad that the family didn't even try to hear OP's side and just decided to believe the cousin completely. They also made him a villain on social media, which is really concerning. It also seems like the cousin orchestrated the whole thing to help her friend, and she's pissed that it got ruined. OP should stay away from her too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking for $30,000 from my parents as a house payment? A year ago, my parents gifted my older brother $30,000 so he could buy a house. My brother is 30 years old and has a very low-paying, unstable job. But in our culture, it's difficult to get married if a man does not own a home, and my parents considered it their duty to help him purchase one. My brother is the only male on both sides of the family to carry on our family name. He has no savings. He partied, drank, and traveled all of his money away, and still wanted a home, as he's unmarried and his previous relationships allegedly ended when his partners discovered he had nothing to his name besides a really old car. He is their golden boy no matter what he does. I didn't have any qualms about that gift. My parents are in their early 50s, and this year I was also looking to purchase a home. I have decent savings, though not a lot, as I recently started working, a job that pays fairly well, and a very stable position. Rent in my city is extremely expensive, and I figured that instead of spending so much money on rent for an apartment, why not put that money toward a house? I plan on buying a house partly to rent out the other rooms. I'm currently single, and my brother, despite getting a house, is still single. But I was hoping to be more financially savvy and own a home. Since my parents gave my brother $30,000 for his house, I asked for the same from them. It seemed only fair. I've stayed at home with them, helped with chores, and have always been a homebody, whereas my brother moved out the second he could at 18. He rarely visits and never helps my parents with anything. I've always been the one driving them places, helping translate documents, and filling out immigration and government paperwork. I started translating for them when I was 12 or 13 because my brother was never home. Even as a teenager, he was always out getting wasted and coming back at 3 to 4 a.m. After touring multiple houses, I finally found one I really liked, and my parents liked it as well. However, we found out how much the down payment requirement was. Even with my savings, I would still need an additional $28,000, so I asked my parents for that amount. They flat out rejected me, saying that while they support me buying a house, they simply can't justify giving me that much money. I brought up that they were willing to give my brother that amount without any pushback, and reminded them that I've helped them my entire life. They said it's because my brother needs a house to get married, whereas I can stay living under my parents' roof for only $300 to $500 a month. I was so fed up with their reasoning that I told them if they continued this favoritism, I would go no contact and leave. My parents said they can't give $28,000, but at most they could give $3,000. I was speechless and vented to my cousin during a family gathering, but I forgot that one of them is a loudmouth who then told all my relatives. Now everyone in my life is torn on my decision. My aunts and uncles have called me greedy, selfish, and even an a-hole for wanting that much from my parents. I feel like I'm losing my mind here. Am I in the wrong? Not the a-hole. Move out and tell your parents to call Golden Boy next time they need something. I did want to buy a house and move out at the same time, but now it's looking very difficult to do so. It's becoming unbearable living with my parents, knowing how blatant their favoritism is toward him, while they still expect me to translate every single letter for them. To offer another perspective, your parents may have overextended themselves to give your brother $30,000 last year. They may need time to recover and truly may not be able to afford doing the same for you so soon. I'm sure some of this is sexism, but how well do you know their finances? I actually help them manage their finances because they often can't figure out how the banking app works. I help them log in and pay off their credit cards. I recently put them on auto pay. I know for a fact that my parents have more than $30,000 and could retire comfortably. That's why it hurts even more knowing they have so much in savings, yet the most they're willing to give me is $3,000. Not the a-hole. I think this is probably also cultural too, right? Where males are valued more, viewed as the stronger, more responsible gender, no matter their character or past behavior, and women are seen as less than, have no opinions, serve the family and their husband forever, and are not allowed to have an opinion type of situation. I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with you asking for equal and fair treatment between you and your brother, especially when you've done much more for your family since you were barely a teenager, and much more with your life than he ever will. It seems like he gets a pass no matter what, and that's BS. Yes, it's exactly that. And I was honestly shocked to discover they had gender favoritism at all. When my parents found out my gender during my mom's pregnancy, they were ecstatic. Despite birth complications, they insisted on having a daughter, and even said that if they could have it their way, they'd have 2 daughters, instead of a son and a daughter. So being confronted with this sexism caught me completely off guard. All my life, I never noticed any gender favoritism. If anything, they scolded my brother more than me. When I graduated college debt-free thanks to academic scholarships, many relatives even called me the golden child because of my grades, university, and job. Meanwhile, my brother dropped out of college, accumulated student debt that my parents paid off, and they even paid for his 2 to 3 year trip abroad for school. Growing up, my parents always assured me they loved me just as much as my brother. That's why I never expected them to pull the rug out from under me like this, especially since I've never cost them nearly as much money as my brother did. I also spoke to my brother, and he said he didn't even ask for help. My parents offered it to him outright. I'm honestly heartbroken by this realization. Last story. My grandma doesn't want my stepson coming to the family gathering. I, 28 female, am married to my husband, 30 male, who has a son from his previous relationship. My stepson is 8 years old, and I've been in his life since he was 11 months old. My stepson has only been to my grandparents' house once when he was very little. From what I recall, it was a calm, uneventful afternoon. When COVID happened, my grandparents erred on the side of caution, which resulted in excluding my stepson due to the petri dish of germs that is daycare. Completely understandable. However, over the years, my grandma has found new and different reasons to exclude my stepson from family gatherings. For this most recent gathering, she said, "Your stepson cannot come since there are too many breakables in the house." Being around my stepson much more, my brother, 29 male, and my dad, 57 male, both vouched for him, saying that he is very well behaved and would not be a problem. My brother even said he would make it his personal duty to run around and play with my stepson outside if he had extra energy to burn off. But my grandma still said no. Although my grandma's decision upset me, I did not want to push the boundaries she has set in her own household. Even though I know my stepson wouldn't be a problem, I don't want to upset my grandparents or disrespect them, especially in their later years. My husband stated he would no longer attend if my stepson could not come, which is reasonable. However, I decided I would still attend without them because I don't see my grandparents often, and I don't know how many more opportunities I'll have. My husband wishes I would stay home, but he also understands. Well, my dad could not drop it. He stewed on it for several days, and I ended up sending a message to my grandma saying that my stepson should be included because he is my family and well-behaved. My dad said my grandma was treating me like a second-class citizen and disrespecting my family. My grandma got upset and canceled the entire family get-together after that. I feel touched that my dad and brother would stand up for my small family unit, but I also have mixed feelings about pushing boundaries people set in their own homes. I just wanted to keep the peace, and now everyone feels bitter. And of course, we don't tell my stepson any of this. You're the a-hole for not standing up more for your stepson. You shouldn't have been willing to go if he isn't allowed. I did try to reason with her, but she still said no. I understand that I could put my foot down, but I don't want to regret not seeing my grandma in her last years of life. You're in a rough position, and that's not fair. But life isn't fair. Sometimes you have to choose between two bad options. In this case, you can either regret not seeing your grandma or regret harming your relationship with your stepson. I have a step-grandchild who has been in our family since she was 2 and is now almost 30. She says she grew up never realizing she was a step-grandchild. She even says to this day that she has my eyes LOL. If someone won't invite all my grandchildren, then none of us go. OP going along and letting her grandmother mistreat her stepson is really sad. For years, I didn't know that my dad's cousin's mother-in-law was not one of my great aunts. She was at every family gathering, and I called her what her grandkids called her, Grandma C. She was a fabulous lady, and I considered her part of my family. You sound just like my mom, refusing to stick up for her kids in order to please other family members. Guess who doesn't talk to their mom anymore? Yes, my dad was and is the same. His mom treated us kids terribly for many years, playing favorites, making rude comments, and holding extreme expectations of us as children. He never said anything. Even when we got older and asked him to, he still didn't. We talk maybe 2 or 3 times a year.